Hakadosh, Boker Or. Masechet Bava Kamma Daf Tzadik Bet Amud Aleph 92a1. We are by the Mishnah. The Mishnah is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 lines down. Yeah? The Mishnah says, Afal pi shehu noten lo. Even if the chovel or the vayesh is going to give to the nizak the money, en nimchal lo ad shivakesh mimenu. He's not going to be forgiven unless he asks for mechila. Right? Which means, right? You have a person that he paid. He punched a guy out. He gave him the damages. He embarrassed him. He paid him the damages. It's still not forgiven until he asks for mechila. Shneimar, but it says in a pasuk, ve'ata hashevesh et ha'ish v'yitpalel ba'adcha. What does that mean? It wasn't just enough la'ashiv et tzara. You needed that Abraham should actually forgive him and that he should actually even pray for him. That's what he has to do. Forgive him and to pray for him. Yeah? So, he comes and he says, okay, Uminayin shim lo machalo. So how do we know now that if he's not going to come and forgive him, shuach zari? Meaning, if right now, thank you, right? If right now he already has the concept of asking for forgiveness, so how do we know that if he doesn't forgive him, how do we know that he's considered cruel? So he says, from the fact that Abraham actually forgave, right? And therefore, just like Abraham Avinu came and he forgave, so therefore it's kilu that, that's what you're supposed to do. So therefore, you're supposed to forgive. You heard? You're supposed to forgive. Yeah? Huh? Exactly. Yeah, I forgive all the time. People come, they make mistakes. I forgive. Yeah, I give them on the head, but I forgive. Haomer, somebody comes and he says, Sameh et ani, or keta et yadi, or shevor et ragli. Chayav. Everyone understood? Somebody comes and he says, break my leg. Yeah, blind me, cut off my hand. That's what he's telling the people. He's still going to be, the guy that still does it, he's going to be chayav. But if he tells him al menat liftor, that it's going to be on condition that you're going to be patur, right? Then he comes and he says, he's still going to be chayav. I didn't understand. Right? At the end of the day,
the words of the man doesn't count.
Yeah, no, but I didn't understand. No, because it didn't sound. It sounds like he's saying, blind him, cut off the hand, cut off the leg. He's going to be chayav. Al menat liftor, he's still going to be chayav. No, but it just said al menat liftor chayav. It's afilu chayav. No, that's what I'm saying. Even if he said al menat liftor, it's still going to be chayav. Okay, but the difference, and this is now why we're going to say it now. Kirat kisuti shaver et kadi chayav. If he tells him tear my clothing or break the jug, he's going to be chayav. But al menat liftor, he's going to be patur. Here, he's going to be patur to do with al menat liftor. Okay? You understood? That means to do with the utensil, you are going to be patur. Aseken lish ploni al menat liftor, chayav ben begufo b'mamono. However, though, if you come and you say, do it to so-and-so, and he's going, and then you're going to be patur, then he's going to be chayav. Doesn't matter whether it's going to be to do with the goof or the money, which means the utensils or the actual body, the person will always going to be chayav. Okay. Says the Gemara. Everyone has it? Tanu Rabbanan. We learned in the Braita. Kol elu she'amnu deme boshto. All the people that we said above in the Mishnah, that he only has to pay the busha. Yeah, aval tsa'aro. But the tsa'ar, okay, afilu evi kol ele nevayot shebaolam. Even if he brought all the korbanot, right? Kol ele nevayot means all the korbanot in the world. He's going to come and he's going to bring. Yeah, en nimchalo et shivakesh mimenu. He's not going to be forgiven until he asks for forgiveness. Which means, don't come and think, you know what, listen, I paid him. That's it. Some people, they're like that. Okay, I paid him. Well, what do you care about? You paid him, but ask him for mechila. So he says, the eshet navi baya hadure. Eshet acher lo baya ladure. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. What does it mean in the Torah when it says, give back the woman because she's an eshet navi? I don't understand. right? If she wasn't an Eshet Navi, so then you could keep her. It's only because he's a Navi, make sure you give her back. But if it wasn't going to be an Eshet Navi, so now what? You don't have to give her back. So Amar Shmuel Melachman Yonatan and Shevet Eshetish Mikol Makom. No, when it says Shevet Eshetish means you always have to give her back. She's an Eshetish, give her back. Marta, when you said Agoy Gam Tzadik Tarog, which means you asked me, you said, God, why are you punishing me? Why you're going to punish me? Why? He told me it was a sister. And she also said it's a brother. Navihu. What does it mean, Navihu? Avraham Avinu was a Navi. So he understood. Ukvar limed, he already taught. He says, one second, when somebody comes to the city, you're going to ask him, do you want to eat? Do you want to drink? The first question is not going to be, by the way, who's this? Is it your wife or your sister? You understand? That's not the first thing that you're going to start asking. So you're going to start asking, do you want to eat something? Do you want to drink something? You're not going to start to. So meaning that it was barud for Avraham Avinu, that it was Ki'ilu, there was something here. So that's why it said he was a Navi. He was a Navi because Ki'ilu, you came and you started saying, Hagoy gam tzadik ta'arog. Well, you're going to kill the tzaddik. I'm a tzaddik. Ani lo asiti klum. Hey, lo asita klum. Hu Navi. He knows exactly what he was doing. Meaning that's why he actually had to change and say it was the sister and everything, just because he understood exactly what's going on. Mikan, from here we learn, leben Noach shene'erag, a ben Noach is going to be killed. Shayalo lilmod velo lamad. What would have happened if Avimelech would have actually lived with Sarah? He would have been killed. But one second, but why? He didn't know. And the answer is because Shayalo lilmod velo lamad. He should have learned, and he didn't. Meaning, his actions are considered purpose, and therefore, what happens is that's it. He's going to be taken. Obligated for it. Okay. What does it mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu stopped everyone from having children in the house of Avimelech? Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, Shte atzilot halalu lama li. Why do I have two different atzilot? Atzor, atzar. Why? He says, Achad beish, shichvat zera, v'shtayim beisha, right? The second one in the isha, which is going to be two in the isha, shichvat zera veleda, which means all of a sudden the men could not take out shichvat zera, which is an incredible yisod. Yeah? But even though it says kol rechem, why does it say atzor atzar? Rechem means the womb of the woman. Yeah. Right, and number two by the woman, it couldn't come out.
לא יצא לגבר זרע, נכון?
לא יצא לגבר זרע.
מה זה לא יפלט לאיש?
בוא נגיד, אתמול בלילה היה להם. עכשיו זה הדקרי, עכשיו זה הגזירה.
אבל אין לו זרע.
One more time, אבל אתמול בלילה היה לו זרע. בוא נגיד, תזכור שהזרע יכול להיות שם שלושה ימים. So let's say they already had the zera there. So therefore, לא יכול להיפלט. It couldn't come out of the woman. It got stuck there. Yeah? That's what he says over here.
That would be better for having the condition.
No, but then veleda, which means that they couldn't even take out the child. They couldn't take out the child until he asked for forgiveness.
לא, אבל כמה זמן זה לקח?
כנראה יום.
זה לא רציני.
כן, כנראה זה היה יום. Probably it was a day.
What's the point of all that? So that there's nothing. With Sarah.
Yes, it was a punishment. It was a punishment. He had Tzor Atzar. And so it was a punishment.
But nothing happened between Avimelech and Sarah, right?
You're right, 100%. Even though people said it. People said that something did happen and that's why she became pregnant. And that's why she didn't become pregnant. Even though that doesn't really make sense a lot. You know why? Because the problem was not Abraham. Because Abraham already had Ishmael. So the problem was Sarah. So to say that that it was, now she became pregnant from...
זה לא היה עם רבקה?
גם. אבל פעם ראשונה זה היה שתיים עם שרה. פרעה וגם אבימלך.
בגלל שהוא לא למד בפעם הראשונה עם שרה?
No, לא קשור לו למד. זה עוד הלכה. One more time, there are two different halachot. First of all, it's teaching you derech eretz. When you go to a city, right, or somebody comes to the city, you tell them what you want to eat, drink. Don't go straight, is this your wife or your sister? Yeah, that's going to be number one. That's דבר אחד. דבר שני זה היה, שבוא נגיד, תשכח עכשיו את הדרך ארץ הזה. תשכח את זה. הוא הלך והוא הלך עם אישה. ובאמת, זה היה אשת איש.
הוא לא ידע.
הוא לא ידע. He's נהרג. Why is he going to be killed? Because הוא היה לו ללמוד ולא למד. זאת אומרת, האקשנס שלו, כן? האקשנס שלו, שצריך ללמוד דרך ארץ, זה היה מספיק בשביל לחייב אותו מיתה. Meaning, he should have learned, listen, what are you asking? And the fact that the guy told you that meant he knew what was going on. He knew exactly where you were going.
כן, אבל אני רוצה להבין, עכשיו בן אדם.
במתנית תנא. In the Braita we learned, שתיים, there were two atzirot, right? באיש, שכבת זרע וקטנים. Not only he wasn't able to have שכבת זרע, he wasn't able to urinate. And three in a woman, שכבת זרע וקטנים ולידה. Meaning the shechvat zera ktanim. So, but it's imagine, even if it's going to be for one day, this is powerful stuff. You understand? Like this is
urine retention is one of the worst pain.
For sure, 100%.
People said to urinate or die because the
אומרים ייתכן שהסירה פשטה לבעלי חיים.
Yeah.
And the treatment, you come with a catheter and you go like that through the skin and it will up.
Oh wow.
And you keep the pire. The prostate.
Yeah. That's why we make the bracha.
Yes.
The bracha is mamash, the way that it is. Fine. Third shita, Ravina says 3 in the man, shechvat zera ktanim upita bat, and 4 in a woman, shechvat zera leida ktanim pita bat. Pita bat is actual excrement. So according to this shita of Ravina, it's pashut nothing. The man wasn't able to take out shechvat zera. The man wasn't able to urinate, and he wasn't able to do number 2. By the woman, it was 4 things. It was the semen, which is to get out of her. The leida, if she was pregnant, she wasn't able to give birth. The ktanim, the urinate, and the excrement. All 4. Be'ad kol lechem. What do you mean be'ad kol lechem? Amrit v'Rabbi afilu tarnegolet shebetach avimelech lo itira betzik. Even a tarnegolet, even an animal, did not give birth. So mamash, that means obviously they knew that had to be something with relations. Because once it gets to the shechvat zera, the leida, the this, the that, there's something wrong, you understand? So they knew right away, there's something here. So Elmaleh Rabba le Rabba bar Mari, says Rabba to Rabba bar Mari, how do we know, do you know that there's a famous segula? Even though you should know that the segula does not work if you're doing it purposely for this. Yeah. Right? But there's a segula. Yeah, exactly. So there's a famous concept, right? That basically if you want something, so you have to ask for, and you're going to ask for somebody else, you're going to be zoche techila. How do we know that? First. Exactly, yeah? So he comes and he says, right? He says, how do we know this? He says, Elmaleh, he says, it says in a pasuk, V'Hashem shav et shevut Iyov, right? Mitpalelo be'ad re'u. It says here, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he returned the children and the what? Yeah, he returned the children, right? And the things that were lost for Iyov because he prayed for his friends. So therefore, the fact that he came and he prayed for his friend, so therefore that's why he was answered first, and therefore he got the things first. So Elmaleh tells him, Atamart me'atam, you're going to say from there, Ana mina me'atam, I'm going to say, you're coming, you're taking a pasuk from Iyov. You have it in the Bible, you have it in the Torah. Where do you have it in the Torah? ויתפלל אברהם אל האלוהים, ויתפלל אלוהים את אבימלך, ותשתו ואמהותיו, וכתיב והשם פקד את שרה, כאשר אמר. Which means that when Avraham Avinu comes and he prayed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in order to cure Avimelech, the wife, and Amotav, it comes out, Vashem pakad tzara. Kasher amar Avraham el Avimelech, just like he prayed for Avimelech. By the way, something very, very incredible in Musar. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this a lot, David. Listen carefully. Imagine how Avraham Avinu felt when his wife Sarah was being taken away from him. And imagine how bad Sarah felt that she was being captured and kidnapped, right? And, taken away from her husband. But at the exact same time that this is happening, this was for their best. Why was it for their best? Because now that Sarah was taken to the house of Avimelech, he tells Avraham Avinu, please pray for me. And the fact that Avraham Avinu now comes and he's going to pray for them, now Abraham and Sarah are going to be answered. Meaning you thought that this is a makkah. Who's ever in their wildest dreams going to say that this is a good thing? That Sarah was kidnapped, that Sarah was taken away, and kilu davar tov, what davar tov? That was their biggest beracha, because that was the key for her to becoming pregnant.
The treatment.
You understood? Okay. So he comes and he says, Avraham Avinu prayed, and Vashem bakat Sarah. So Amaleh Rava le Rabba bar Mari. Says Rava to Rabbi bar Mari. Okay? Mena hamilta de amri inche behadi hutza lake kerava. Right? How do we know that there's a mekor that people come and they say, yeah, yeah, he comes and he says, where do we say that that imakots lokea kruv? Yeah, with a thorn, the kruv is going to be hit, which means that if you are kavanah to take out a kotz, which is beside the kruv, sometimes you're taking out the kruv as well. Okay? Which means that also the neighbors of a rasha are going to be punished just like with it. It's like, like with all the bombs nowadays. You come and you send a bomb, but sometimes, it's not 100% accurate and it goes on the house beside as well. You understand? There's something beside. So Amaleh, he says, it's written, Lama tarivu elai kulechem peshatam minum Hashem. Don't start arguing with me, right? He says, all of you have done this, which means even Yirmiyahu Navi, which is receiving the nevuah, is ki'ilu that, he's also getting punished with it because ki'ilu he's with the Reshaim that he's living amongst them. So Amaleh, he says, Amarta mehatam, you're going to say from over there, but I'm going to say from here, Ad ana me'antem nishmor mitzvotai v'torotai. Right? We just actually saw this, right? In last week's parasha. Ad ana me'antem nishmor mitzvotai v'torotai. Right? In Parashat B'Shalach. Right? This is talking about to do with the tzaddikim gemurim and the tochacha that they went out to check on Shabbat, right? If there was going to be man. Amar le Rabba, Rava to Rabba bar Mari. Mike T, what does it mean in the pasuk? Umikse echav lakach chamisha anashim. Yosef HaTzadik comes and he takes 5 of his brothers and he takes them to Paro. Who are these 5? Elmaleh, he says, Zachi Amar Rabbi Yochanan, this is what Rabbi Yochanan says, Otan shuchpelu b'shemot. The ones that it says double the names. Meaning, in the Berachot of Moshe Rabbeinu at the end, it says, Velizvulun lomar semach zevulun betzetecha. Right? Or, Ulgad Amar Baruch Marchiv Gad. Uldan Amar Dana Gur Aryeh. Yeah? Naftali Amar Naftali Sivaratzon. Vezot bracha. Yeah? Vezot bracha. Yeah? Ulasher Amar Baruch Barim Asher. So all the names which are said double, repeated double, those were the ones that he came and he brought in front of Paro. Why? Because those were the weak ones. And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu doubled their name, right? He said it twice in order to strengthen them. So the same thing, that means Yosef wanted to bring the weak brothers, because if he's going to come and bring these big jabarim, like that, they look like that, he's going to say, hey, you know what, you're part of my army. But now that he brought the weak brothers, okay, fine, yeah, you guys are in charge of my sheep, fine, go, you're in charge of my sheep. Yehuda nami yichpol michpal. Says the Gemara, Yehuda was also doubled. Now Yehuda was not a weak brother, and Yehuda. Oh yes, but there were some which were obviously more. Because it says Vizot Yehuda Shema Kol Yehuda. So Yehuda was also said double. Elmaleh, he said no. It was done purposely for something Yuchad, not because he was weak. What does it mean in the pasuk Yichidu Ve'Mal Yamot V'Yim Mitav Mispar? Meaning that Reuven should live and should not die, and his numbers should not be very little. V'Zot Yehuda. What do you mean V'Zot Yehuda? All the 40 years that Yisrael was in the Midbar, the bones of Yehuda were rolling around in the Aron. Remember, we already learned that it wasn't only the coffin of Yosef that was taken; it was also the coffin of all the Shvatim were also taken out of Mitzrayim. And what happened was that the bones of Yehuda were rolling around, right? Ad Sheba Moshe, right? Until, right, came Moshe Rabbeinu, ubikesh rachamim, and he asked for mercy, Amar lefanav says in front of him, Ribono shel olam, mi garam leReuven sheyodeh. So the bones of Yehuda were moving all around until Moshe Rabbeinu came and he was mevakesh rachamim. Amar lefanav, he said, Ribono shel olam, mi garam leReuven sheyodeh. Who was the one that caused Reuven to recognize his sin? Écoute-moi. Aywa. Who was the one that caused? I'm going to separate you guys. Give you a get. Give you a get. Yeah. One more time. Who was the one that caused Reuven to come and to be modeh on his sin of switching the beds? It was Yehuda. Miyad Shama Hashem Kol Yehuda. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu heard Kol Yehuda ve'alev v'rad shafa, and the bones went back to its proper places. Meaning they went to its sockets. Bava Kamma Daf, but they didn't let him into the yeshiva shel Mala. Until he said Ve'elamot Vienu. Right, which means that so then they let him into yeshiva. Shalmala. Lo hava yada ma kamra Rabbanan. He didn't know what the rabbis were saying. Ulmishkal mitrach ve'ur Rabbanan. Yadav Rav Lo, that he should have minchamta shel Torah. He should have the Yadav Rav Lo. He should have big hands. Right? Then he had it. Lo hava salik l'sheva, but he wasn't able to be posek halacha lemaseh. Ve'ezer mitzarav tiyeh. So his entire pasuk, we were actually being doresh, that it has to do with the entire concept of it. So don't tell me that it's a double Yehuda because he was weak. It was because he actually needed it in order to have the bones go back into place, and in order to go into yeshiva shel Mala and to understand what they're saying, and then to start fighting milchamta shel Torah, and then also in order to have halacha l'maaseh. Kapish? Beautiful, nachon? Okay. This Gemara is also in Makot. Amar le Rabba bar Maria. Another story. Rabba to Rabba bar Maria. There's a third thing now. Mena milta damrisha. How do we know that which people say? Batar aniya azla aniyuta. By the way, this I say to a lot of people. Right? I'm sure you've heard me say it. No. I heard this, that for example, when you have empty wine bottles on the table, you get rid of them right away. You never leave an empty wine bottle on the table. Yeah. Right away you get it. Why? Batar aniya azla aniyuta. You should always have full wine bottles on the table. Never empty. Yeah, never
but
empty.
That's not even for everybody.
So what happens is, it says over here, how do we know that people say batar aniya azla aniyuta? What does that mean? After that, he goes aniyuta. Elmaleh comes and he says, right, as follows. He says here, he says here, meaning an ani could lose much more than what the ashir will lose out. It's actually He'ara 39 over here. Here it says, okay, so that means even though it was something which people used to say, they accepted it as if that was like something of Torah, obviously, that there had to be something here. So Elmaleh comes and he says, we learned in the Mishnah, Ashirim mevi'im bikurim biklatot shel zahav shel kesef. The rich people, they're going to bring their bikurim in baskets of gold and silver, okay, which are going to be like, gold plated and silver plated. The poor people in the baskets of, badim, whatever it is, shel arava krufa. Salim v'bikurim notrim lekohanim. Now the salim and the bikurim, they have to give to the kohanim, okay? But the ones of gold and silver, right, they used to give it back. Meaning the ashirim they used to bring in the gold and the silver, they used to get back their baskets. But the poor people that they had to make it was kept by the kohanim. So you see from here, batar aniya azli aniyuta. Okay? So he comes and he says, right, that's why that means basically what's going to happen is that the rich person is not losing his money, but the poor person is losing his money. Because his own basket he had to give at the end to the Kohen, and the Kohen actually kept his basket. The rich person, no, the rich person got it back. So Elmaleh, he comes and he says, you said it from over there, but I'm going to say it from another pasuk in Vayikra, right? Tzadik bet amud bet, 92b. Yeah, to be or not to be, you're listening? Yeah? They're reading. The tameh tameh yikra. What does it mean with tameh tameh yikra? Meaning that he has to say tameh tameh, which means he has to tell people that that he's not only the mitzorah that has sarat has to go, he has to be mvayesh et atzmo. So therefore, you see, from after shvalut comes another shvalut. Meaning the guy miskin, he's already, he's already how do you call this? He's already he's already mitzorah, so he feels bad. He's going to even feel more bad now. But he has to start saying tameh, tameh, so and that means
he's depressed, very depressed.
Yes. So therefore, batar, that's what he's saying. After shfalut, after being shafal, a person will become more shafal, which means that after a person is going to be already low, it's going to be becoming the lower. So batar aniya azla niyuta. Okay, very important. Batar aniya azla niyuta. Remember that saying, doctor. Batar aniya azla aniyuta. After the ani, will go poverty. Will go more aniyut. You understand? So that's why there's no aniyut here. Yeah, only ashirut. Only full things.
Poverty.
Okay.
Poverty follows the poor.
Yes. Amale Rava le Rabba Barmari. Says Rava to Rabba Barmari. How do we know that what the rabbi says? So now, did you realize beforehand was Mina Minta Damre Inche that people are saying, and the one before, right, was just a pesukim we're trying to understand. You understand? But right, but all of a sudden, but there was one before also, which was Mina Minta Damre Inche. The people are saying it. So that means there's something which people say. So the previous one of Batan and Yaz was not even the rabbis. It was some people used to say it. This one, there was the rabbis. So Mena Minta Damu Rabbanan, how do we know that what the rabbis say? Hashkem ve'echol, right? Bakayitz mipnei achama, uvechoref mipnei atzina. What does that mean that you should be makpid to eat early breakfast? Because then in the kayitz, you're going to be strong enough for the sun, right, in the summer. And in the winter, you're going to be strong for the cold. And people say, Shitin rehot, rahut, vilomatu gavra, temitzafra karach. Do you know that you could have 60 people that are running and they won't be able to catch up to the guy that he ate bread early in the morning? Meaning that a guy that has a good breakfast, right? Okay, here it says 60 is lavdavka, but meaning the concept is that, it's like, Mamash said, a person that has breakfast, you can't. I remember, I think somebody once told me that when they were younger, they used to have these, like advertisements with the athletes, right? It was a breakfast of the athletes. Why breakfast? Because they knew that if you wanted, you had to have a good breakfast. So here, this is the Rabbanan. The rabbis were the ones that are saying this. So he says, the says in a pasuk.
Right? Says eat bread.
Yeah, no, pat shachrit. We're gonna learn it. Pat shachrit. 1 second, we're gonna learn it. We're gonna learn it right now. 1 second. Why do you think?
That's why the
It says the Gemara Dichtiv, it's a pasuk. Lo yir'avu velo yitzma'u velo yakem sharav hashemesh. What does that mean? It means over here, if you're not going to be hungry and you're not going to be thirsty, but rather you're going to eat and be satiated in the morning, then you could go, it won't hit you, the sharav v'shemesh. It won't hit you, whether it's going to be all this negative things of the cold or the heat or all these things. So Elmaleh, the same thing as we said before. Atam artanatam, you said over there, but I'm going to say it from somewhere else. It said, Va'avatem et Hashem Elokechem. What does it mean? This is in Shemot where it says, Va'avatem et Hashem Elokechem v'rech lechma v'menecha v'asir yoti machala mikirbecha. Yeah, what does that mean? You're going to serve Hashem your God, and He's going to bless your bread and your water, and I'm going to remove all the machala mikirbecha. Yeah, what does that mean exactly? Yeah? Listen. Va'avatem et Hashem Elokechem chiyat shema tefillah, avodah shevelev. Right? You have to serve Hashem your God. He's going to bless the bread and the water. Pat b'melach vekiton shel mayim. That is talking about eating bread in the morning, pat b'melach, and the kiton shel mayim, a jug of water. Mikam ve'elach, and from then onwards, if a person always does that, he's going to take away from you, right, all the machalot mikirbecha, right, which is a beautiful concept. Okay, he's going to take away machala from you. The Tanya, we learned what is machala. Zumara. It's a machala which is actually going to cause the mara is the
bitterness.
Yeah, but there's a word for it in English. The blutata mara. The mara, just like they say mara shchora. There's I remember the word. The bladder. Right, the bladder.
The bile.
Yeah, okay. So that's what he says over here. Velama nikra shema machala. So why is it called machala? She-83 chalaim yeshba. Meaning the numerical value, and that's what it says here, machala begematria achavu, the numerical value of machala is actually 83. So when you come and you eat pat shachrit, it removes from you 83 machalot.
Pat is not mezonot. Pat
Huh?
is bread.
So technically speaking, pat is bread, but there's Rabbi Zion and others as well. Is pat shachrit davka pat hamotzi, or even meduma mezonot? Because this is called pat. You call it pat.
איזה הלחם הזה?
Yeah, mezonot bread.
מה?
Pat abba kisnim. Thank
you.
Pat abba kisnim. So if it's also called pat, so there now the question is, okay, well, what about all other mezonot? Is that also pat abba kisnim? So for sure, mezonot bread is bread. Understand? The question is, what's going to be with other things? So there's a Rabbi Zion on it and everything. But again, this is the concept of pat shachrit. But here it says it actually removes 83 machalot. Okay, the kulan. And all the 83 machalot, pap b'melach b'shachrit, v'kiton shel mayim v'batlan, it's going to annul it. So here we learn the importance of pat shachrit. So if anybody wants to come and take away, right, the good breakfast, yeah, that John Jack kindly sponsored this week. So what happens? You tell them.
Premium or?
I don't know. Yeah.
Now it's the trend of the intermittent.
Yeah, the intermittent fast.
So you eat in the evening and you don't.
And you don't eat until the next. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, pat shachrit. You have to do it. Okay. Fine. Next. Elmaleh Rava le Rabbi Marmali. He says Rabbi to Rabbi Marmali. Mena milta dam rabbanan. How do we know another thing that the rabbi said? Chavrach karya chamra ukafa legabach mush. If your friend calls you a chamor,
He's not your friend.
he says if your friend is going to call you a chamor, take off,
saddle.
right, the
saddle.
yeah, the saddle, the saddle of the thing. What does that mean? You have to tell him thank you, and you don't argue with him. Okay, here in the footnote he says because you should always be a person that you're always going to accept the embarrassments and what
אפשר להגיד גם איך הוא קורא לו ככה, אז הוא נהנה ראשון.
So he says, Elmaleh dichtiv, it says in the pasuk, Vayomer agash shivchat sarai, emi zevanet telechi, vatomer ne sarai gibiti anochi v'rachat. She comes and she says, I'm running away. What Tomer, he says, right, what happened? The malach said, Hagar shivchat sarai, which means Hagar could have come and said, what are you talking about? Right? She wasn't, right? So he comes in, she actually accepted it. And because of that, right, of the accepting it, right, that's why she says over here, she actually said, yes, Sarai Giviti, right? Sarai Giviti, she's my mistress, like the master. So it comes out that you actually see from here that when the malach called her a shivcha, he actually accepted it. Because she could have said, listen, I'm not a shivcha anymore. I'm already married to the master. I'm not a shivcha anymore. No, Sarai, my mistress. So she did accept it. So Elmaleh Rava le Rabbi Marmali, mina minta damin she minta genaa diit becha kadim amra. How do we know that if you have a dvar genai, you should reveal it before other people should tell you? This is something incredible. And this is minta dam ninche, these people, not the rabbis. The people say that if you already have something negative, say it before somebody's going to tell it to you. Meaning reveal it instead of trying to conceal it. Reveal it instead of people telling it to you. People, they love hiding things, but then it gets into the face. And when it gets into the face, it's much worse because obviously they were hiding it. And then, so here he's saying, if you already have something, you should say it. So Elmaleh, he says, Dichtiv, it says in a pasuk, Vayomar Eved Avraham Anochi. Right away, he came Eliezer and he said, I'm Eved Avraham. But why didn't he try to hide that he's an Eved? Or that? No. Right away, I'm Eved Avraham.
The story of the Hamor, when they said, you see the place, you stay with the Hamor.
Exactly, yeah. No, because it's two different things. There, he's just telling him, by the way, do you see anything? Okay, you're still a Hamor. But the concept was that he didn't try to conceal something. Meaning, if you're a slave, you're not going to come out. No. He came. I'm a slave. He's going to wait until somebody has to tell him that he's a slave, right? And that he's going to try to hide it or try to. No. I'm a slave. He has to go out and say it. And by the way, you should know it's much better that way. Because many times when they hide it, then afterwards what happens is that it haunts them afterwards. And then it becomes even worse. So Elmaleh, right? Rava le Rabbi Marmali. This is the seventh thing now. How do we know this thing that people say? Shafil ve'azil baravaza ve'ene mitayfe. The avaz, he's like, bent when he's walking. However, though, his eyes are going far, which means even though you look at him and he's like, his head is bowed, but really, be'emet, he's looking very, very far away, right? In order to look for food. which means the anava of a person should not stop him from asking from other people what he needs, whether it's Torah or Parnasah or whatever it is. Meaning, even though the person's bent down, meaning he's anav, he still should look far. He should still always, look for the, to grow. So Elmaleh, he says, Dichtiv, it says in the pasuk, Vehetiv Hashem la'adoni v'zacharta et amatecha. Right? Abigail, the wife of Naval Karmeli, she comes and she says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should do good for you and you will remember me. Which means here, she's giving him a hint that how do you call this? That afterwards, he should take her, as a wife. And that's exactly what happened. When Naval was actually, when Naval died, David HaMelech took Abigail as a wife. So, and this is what she's saying, Zacharta et amatecha. Remember your maidservant.
Because he gets wife.
Yes.
As a wife, yeah, for a wife.
Yeah, for a wife. Yeah. So Elmaleh Rabbi Mani Mina Milta Daminish. I don't know this thing that people say Shitin Tiklim Matia Lekacha, that 60 types of ke'evs come on the teeth of a human being. Yeah, so for that we go to John Jack to find out what are the 60. The Kal Chavre Shama Lo Achal, that Kol Chavero that's eating that he doesn't want to hear, and he himself is not even eating, which means it's a very big ke'ev for a person that's ki'ilu, that's not eating at a time when everyone's eating. So imagine everyone's having their good ribs and all their, all their lamb chops and all these things, and you can't eat. That's one of the biggest ke'ev, right? Of 60 types of machovim. Yeah. Meaning it's not good for the person's health when he hears that somebody else is eating and he's not eating. It's 60 types of pains that are coming to his teeth. So Elmaleh, he comes and he says, he's talking about when this is the haftarah of when Natan Navi and Batsheva come to David HaMelech, when Avraham Zaken, so David Zaken. So there, and it says there, and they didn't call us to the feast. So therefore, the fact that he didn't call us to the feast, so Kilu, that's why he was like hurting them. So he says, Elmaleh, and he says, you're going to say from over there, but I'm going to say from over here. What's written immediately afterwards? So it comes out that Avraham Avinu took a wife because he was jealous of Yitzchak. Meaning, think about it. Avraham Avinu was already very old. Why does he have to get married? But he saw that his son just took a wife. So now he's jealous of his son. He also wants a wife. So he went and he got married. So therefore, kilu, that you want something that you don't have. So same thing, when you have people that they're eating and you don't have it, it like hurts you. You understand? It actually hurts you. So the same thing, which this is a Gemara Mefureshet, which is something incredible. Yeah. Meaning sometimes it happens. You'll see that, that you'll have a person, the wife passes away, you think, he'll never get married again. All of a sudden you see that the children start getting married, all of a sudden he's going to get married again. What's going on? This Gemara.
It's like every month when.
So now he comes and he says, Elmaleh Rava le Rabba bar Mari mena haminta demesh. How do we know this? When people say Chamra le mare tivuta le shakye, the wine for its masters, but the good goes to the one that pours it. Which means sometimes it happens that basically that they accepted a good thing and it goes away from them right away. Just like a person that's drinking wine or whatever it is. He comes, even though the wine is shayach to the king, but it's not. That means people will come and they'll say thank you to the one that's pouring them, right? They'll say thank you for the one, but they want not to the thank you of like the makor of where it's coming from. You understand? Exactly, meaning that they're only going to say the thank you to the last person, but not to the original person where it's actually coming from. So Elmaleh, so he says, it says in the pasuk, למען ישמעון כל הדת בני ישראל, וכתיב ונצפת ויהושע בן נון מלא רוח חוכמה, כי שמח משה את ידיו עליו, וישמעו אליו בני ישראל. So these psukim are actually coming and telling us about Moshe Rabbeinu giving the חוכמה גדולה to Yoshua, and באמת really it comes from Hashem. It's very nice, it comes from Moshe, but no, it comes from Hashem. So Elmaleh Rabba Mari, right, the 10th thing. And I mean to the Mishnah, how do we know this thing about kalba bekanfei gelale nivla? A kelev, right? When he's so hungry, he could swallow stones. That means even though it's going to be difficult to digest it, he's going to even swallow stones. Okay, so it's a pasuk saying it. Okay. And I mean, since he knows that that the Kelev knows that the mizunot is very, very small, so therefore, and it's going to take 3 days, whatever it is, so therefore, he'll even have to eat that if he has to. So Amalei Rava, this is the 11th thing. Rava le Rava Mamani. I don't know this thing that people say, Metayel ve'azil dikla bisha gabekina disrache. What does that mean here? Metayel ve'olech dekra al yedeh etzim betelim. Meaning a Rasha always chooses to go with the Rashaim. Yeah, you heard. Rasha will always choose to go with the Rashaim. Meaning when you're going to try to choose a place where to live, you have to choose it with good people, with the, you understand? So he says, Amaleh, davar ze ketuv b'Torah, it's written in the Torah. It's repeated in the Navi, and it's third time also in Ketuvim. Utzram matniti, the Tanina Braita. It's also in the Mishnah, it's also in the Braita. Ketuv b'Torah, it's written in the Pasuk, Dichtiv vayelech Esav Ishmael. Esav went to Ishmael. Shanui benivim. So therefore, obviously, the Rasha goes to the Yishaim. Right? It's written in the Nevi'im, Dichtiv vayitlaktu liftach anashim rekim v'yitzuyimo. The one, Shulash Ketuvim, it's written also in the Ketuvim, but it's written here, this is in Ben Sira. Interesting. Ben Sira is not Ketuvim, but I don't know, that's what's written here. Right? It says here, Dichtiv kol of lemino yishkon uben adam ladumelo. We learned it in the Mishnah where it says, Kol mechubar l'tameh tameh, anybody which is connected to the tameh is tameh, and anybody which is connected to the Torah is tahor. And we learned it in the Braita, Rabbi Eliezer says, Lo lechina malach zarzir etzel haorev. It's not for no reason that the zarzir went to the haorev, ela mipnei shehu mino, but because it's the same species. The starling went to the raven. Okay, fine. Amale, the 12th thing. Amale Rava karit chavrach velanach. If right, if you wanted to come and you wanted to rebuke your friend for something that he did, and he doesn't want to answer you, reme guda rabba shadibe. Just let him fall. You understood? Meaning you want to come and you want to call someone in order to give them tochacha. And they don't even bother. They don't want to listen to you. So what do? Let them fall. Yeah? Push them away with 2 hands. That's what it says. Amaleh, he says, the fact that I wanted to purify you, but you didn't want to become purified, so therefore you're gonna be tameh and you're not gonna become pure afterwards. Meaning just let him fall, just leave him, don't even bother. The next thing. How do we know this thing that people say, that when you drink from a pit, don't throw in it a stone, which means that you should be makir tovat, right? You benefit from something, don't destroy it. Meaning the fact that you were in the Mitzrayim and you were there, don't tell Mitzri and don't do this again. Amar, the 14th thing, dalina, right? Meaning that if you're going to pick it up, so then I could also pick it up. Vilo, and if not, lo dalina, then I won't do it on my own, which means a person is not willing to put himself into a sakana by himself, right? Unless he's got like a partner. Meaning even though he could do it, but he doesn't want to do it. He wants to make sure there's somebody with him. So Elmaleh, he says in Pasuk in Shofetim, Vayomer elei barak, im telchi mi ve'elachti, if you come with me, I'll go. But if not, then I'm not going to go. Meaning, you go with me, I'll come with you, but I'm not going to go on my own. Amaleh Rabbi, there's a 15th thing. When we were ktanim, they thought that we were always older. Meaning, when we were younger, we always wanted that to be older. And now that we're older, we want to become younger. You understand? Exactly. Meaning, when you're young, you always want to be old. You understand? You always want to be old. And then, when you're old, you want to be young. What's going on? Amaleh, he says, this is in Parashat Shalach, we just did it. Right? And afterwards it's written, that Am Yisrael, when they were already in Uruto, when they came out, he sent them, it was a HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself.